Perfect. All right. Well, you're it today, Tom. So tell me, let's look. We've been asking a different question now. So tell me, what is your top priority in the next 10 days in your business?
In my business,
Yep. What is the
I mean,
top priority in your next 10 days?
listing appointments. I mean, if
Excellent. Okay. Go ahead.
if it's that simple. So I mean, I've got that.
Yeah.
I have 500 American flags I need to put out in yards, and so I'm
Okay.
doing that
So
this week. But
Okay,
listing
so
appointments.
tell me this. If that is your top priority, the listing appointments, what is going to get in the way of those appointments?
Me giving other things priority, whether that's people walking in my office or um, allowing outside forces to influence or allowing my enemy within. I mean, I don't
Excellent.
know that I've mentioned, I think in our personal conversations, I've mentioned my enemy within named Curtsy, where
Right.
where I bow out of the way. So there are the curtsy elements, but yeah, that's the big challenge.
All right. So what do you want to make sure we discuss today to give you clarity to move forward in your business?
I don't know in my head, and then I also had in my head, well, if I did know, what would it be?
That
Um,
was gonna, yeah, if you did know, what would it be? Come on, you can do it.
well, so today is kind of an easy day for me, um, in that I don't have anything truly scheduled. So my goal is just to clean my stinking office and get all
Nice.
the distractions out of the way, all the clutter out of the way. Side note, I got my Muskie mount in and put,
Oh, okay. Next week, I expect you to be in your office so we can see the musky mount.
dude, yeah, you need to come by and see it. It's huge. I forgot how big it was because I mean, there's a picture of me holding it with another guy. But
Right, right.
anyway, get all that stuff cleaned up. There's just clutter and crap. And it's funny, I was just listening to Goggins when the 9 o'clock hour arrived. And so I've got that language in my head.
There's something about that book. And for those of you that are going to be listening to this later, it's You Can't Hurt Me. Hey, Tom, you want to hold that up?
I don't.
So, this book is written by David Goggins. And for those of you that don't know, he was a pest control gentleman, and went to Bud's training, lost over 100 pounds in 3 months. And I'm just going to give you a few points of it, and I'll do no justice to it. Broke a leg, um, and he has built his world upon mental toughness. And for those of you that are listening, it is a great book to listen to or to read. I prefer the audio version of it just because of how he, between chapters, they commentate about the book, and it's very powerful. But if you've never read the book or never picked it up, I don't care if you're a man, a woman, a child, it is a great, great book on mental toughness.
Well, and so just to add to that, they probably don't know what BUDS is, and that's SEAL training.
Yeah, right, right. Well, they have to read the book, Tom. I'm trying to give them a few things they can do. Hey, good morning, Miss Sarah. Excellent. Have you read the book Can't Hurt Me?
I have a stack of books next to my bed I'm trying to read and not getting to, so no.
Well, just the way we speak freely on this call, I think you should move David Goggins' book Can't Hurt Me to the top of your audiobook pile. That's what Tom's reading right now, and he's been doing these 30-day challenges and did 100 push-ups in a row when I can barely do 5. So I'm feeling a little fat and out of shape. So I think he should send me his 30-day challenge.
I'll send it to you, but you got to do it.
Well, I'll pick it once I see it. I'll promise I'll do it. Don't send it to Tanner because he already makes me look bad. He's already fit. Does pull-ups, does push-ups, does all those things. Like we used to do when we were 30 years old.
Yeah, well, I mean, the whole idea of this I worked for 3 months to finally to do a pull-up, and most every morning I have a 7:30 and an 8 o'clock call. And I went outside with my 8 o'clock call and said, I'm just going to try it. And I finally succeeded on one pull-up, all the way up, all the way down in control. And I had goosebumps on my ankles. Who knew you could do that?
I
So
love it.
yeah, so the
All right.
next stop is 100 in a row.
So maybe you know what? Maybe before next week, we should come up with a 30-day business challenge.
Ooh, you're speaking my
So,
language.
I'm going to talk to Tanner about it, but we have this program called 30X. It's within our system, and Tanner's been doing it on, if you haven't watched any of his videos, but he's been doing 30X, which is 30 days of 30-minute learning from our founders. We have 30X business and 30X life. And I'm going to talk to him about getting access to that and given a challenge to see who on this call would really like to really change their life and the part of business. So unfortunately, Sarah, Tanner is in the other room. We are actually in Houston today. We are at firm training yesterday and today. And so Tanner chose to sit and take notes, and I chose to come and do work. Or maybe it was different. Maybe he told me I was coming to do it. I don't know. You guys can fill in the blanks. I'm confident he told me I had to do it.
I like that.
So all right. So Tom's battling your curtsy in his head. So again, Sarah, what questions you have today that you'd like to run through with everybody, or in what's going on in your world? Oh, by the way, I loved all the pictures from 90 Day Planning up in Neenah. What a glorious event. Congratulations. I wish we could have been there. Just the scheduling with our own stuff that was going on. We were unable to attend. And like I said, the pictures, the founder doing 90 Day Planning, congratulations.
It was very cool. It was funny because at the end of the night, we had all this networking and we had dueling pianos and stuff. And so, everybody's crowding around Brad and asking him questions. And I'm just standing there watching him coach. It was really fun because of how much I could learn just watching him coach people. And then like a light switch, you could start to see him wind down. And then he turns around, he's like, I'm done coaching. I'm like, cool. I told him a bar to go to around the corner that people probably wouldn't find him at. So
that is awesome. That is awesome.
Really neat. The coolest thing I think has been that a lot of my marketing coaching clients were there. And so to do our regular marketing coaching and to talk to them and start with what was your biggest takeaway? What do you want to do? All of them are thinking so much bigger. It's so cool.
I love it. I love to hear that. We did give you a huge shout out yesterday, Sarah, as our marketing coach for our firm, to the team, to the firm owners here. So you betcha. All right. So what do you want to make sure we talk about here in the next 15, 20 minutes? Tom, Sarah, you guys want to cohort together and I'll just sit here and listen?
I don't know what oh, okay. That's the second time I've said I don't know. But if I did know.
Nice.
Did you guys, here just a minute, did I lose you? Are you there? I've got the Toy Story stuff in my head all the time. So now I'm like, or Finding Nemo, tapping on the glass. Make sure you guys are still awake.
Yeah. So, I mean, my struggle this week has really been physical. So I told you about going to my knees. I went to go do the walk run.
Yeah.
And I 10 steps in and couldn't do anything. And I, until yesterday when I finally got to see a specialist, I was worried surgery on both knees. And turns out that's not the case. But now I'm in pain. So that's where my focus has been. So recentering is what I need to be doing.
Excellent. Does it help on these calls to help you recenter?
Yeah, I mean, it helps me realize what I know and what I need to know.
Good. So what does help you recenter? Let's just touch on that for a second, because I think that's a pretty critical a driver in all of our businesses today.
Well, really, I mean, if the best thing for me for recentering is a week on the water.
When's your next planned week on the water?
I don't have one. Normally in
Oh.
September, August or September.
Well, what do you do daily to recenter or weekly? There's got to be something that doesn't drive us all into the mad insanity of, doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. So, what's your weekly mantra? What are you doing for you?
Well, the 30-day challenge stuff. So because my
Yeah, but
knees
is it
are going to take a bit, I mean, that does that, because that's something like I get up, immediately do push-ups, make my bed, and then get on with stuff. And so actually starting on Monday, because my knees are not so great, I'm doing a 5:30 a.m. swim.
nice? Well, and again, recentering is for all of us is what allows us to have the freedom to, I call it the 3 R's: rest, relax, recharge. Um, and it's those 3 R's get missed so many times by y'all and myself on occasion, where I have to be reminded of what is rest, what is relaxing, and how does that equal recharging. So Tom and Sarah, tell me, what's the definition of manifestation?
Speaking things into existence. I mean, is that the kind of flavor you're looking at, or it's just an empty question? I mean, it's a,
It's an empty question. It's an empty question right now.
well,
Oh, did
so
I? So, what is the definition of manifestation?
taking, I have a dream board, a vision board in front of me.
Oh,
And
you can see Doug's right over my head.
yeah, whoa, that's pretty cool. So, um, it's not just it's like me speaking from stage, the audience that I'm going to be speaking to, physical things that I'll own that some people get worried about. And I just say it's a reflection of the things that I find the greatest reflection of, well, it's what makes me happy. And then
Okay.
there are six people that have characteristics that I am working toward having. So manifestation is a daily awareness of that, writing those things down, affirming with my 7:30 and 8 o'clock call there. I guess we're coaching and encouraging each other.
Okay.
So that's manifestation is speaking things into existence by having that in front of you and taking steps in that direction, and realizing what's possible. Where, one push-up was ridiculous, one pull-up was ridiculous, and now I've got a goal of every day doing 100 push-ups in a row, and that's
Okay.
probably 6 weeks away.
Okay. Love it. Love it. All right, Sarah, what does manifestation mean to you?
Working on becoming the person I want to be, not who I am now.
Okay. Okay. Excellent. So, what are how do you get to manifestation? What do we have to do to get to manifestation?
Figure out what it is.
And I think
Okay, but even before that,
some of it's calming the noise. So we were talking
okay.
about that a few minutes ago about, I think you were calling it like recharging and stuff. For me,
Yeah.
more than anything, it's grounding. I'm a very high DI. I'm very fast paced, and too often I go too fast to get enough things done properly. And it's almost like a ballerina. I'm sure we've all heard this analogy. When they spin, they literally flip their heads and hold their eyes on something. So when they flip again, they don't get dizzy.
Right.
And I feel like I'm spinning so fast, so frequently, I don't get my head to focus on something. And so actually, I was going to mention to you, Tom, I wondered if you ever looked into acupuncture. I've actually been doing that regularly. And it's funny, it's supposedly more for physical, but it's incredible what it does for my mental. So it does both.
Interest. All right. So when I look at manifestation, I love what you're talking about here because you're all correct. You're all correct. So when I look at manifestation, it's the becoming that person. It's to have, right? So we could talk be, do, have, but today specifically, I want to talk about manifestation and how do we get there. So I always say that the first thing with manifestation is movement, right? We have to do movement is doing something different, doing towards something, away from something. You know, you just said you wanted to be able to do 100 pull-ups. Well, in order to be able to do 100 pull-ups, you've got to work backwards from that and say, okay, I'm starting here, but I have to do something different every day. So whether it's push-ups or running, or whether it's lunges, or squats, all of those things are movement, right? And every one of us has to start with what? One movement. Would you guys agree?
That's absolutely true.
So I always
true
look
when you
at
say
it as that one movement. What is it we're going to do differently today? And then I take this other thing that what happens after you do something every day for 20 days? What do you get? You get momentum, right? You start seeing results. You start feeling better. You start seeing the forest in the trees, or the tree in the forest, or sometimes you just see the flowers that are planted in front of the forest. But we have to have movement times momentum, right? Because there's no other way around it. But there's one critical aspect that leads us all to manifestation on every level. And what is that?
Ask it again.
What is it that we have to do? Well, I'll ask it a different way. If you have movement times momentum times what every day gets us to manifestation?
Time on task over time, I guess, is kind of what you're saying.
You could word it that way. Sarah, for you?
Movement times momentum times something gets us to what? Manifestation?
Manifestation.
Vision.
That's one area to look at, but it's one. So think of it like this. It's habits, right? So it's consistency.
Mm-hmm.
Movement times momentum times consistency equals manifestation. So bringing this back full circle, in order to recharge, to center, we still have to build those things into our systems and processes and our days in order to do that. Hey guys, I want to introduce somebody. Look, there's my mentor right there. I stole his office. That is the renowned Doug Winnie.
Hi, Doug.
I'll get out of your office. You're good. Okay. All right. So see, I stole his office because he wasn't here yet. And we are showing you. He doesn't work Friday. See, we're training today, but he doesn't work Fridays. Right. But we must have that consistency in everything that we do. So for that manifestation, like Sarah, you're moving so fast, right? You're constantly moving. At what point do you pump the brakes? Tom, you talked about, I find that recharge and recentering when I'm off on the lake somewhere. Well, that's great if you put it every September, but what do you do for the other 365 or 360 days a year? You just wish you were there?
That's a good question. Got pointed out to me on Wednesday on my other group. Yeah.
Well, and I wouldn't be so hard on this, but I just got called out completely because I'm always really good about do as I say as I do. But when my wife pointed out that, Andy, with this last 18 months and then the death of my mother, and that's not an excuse, but I took all this time to be with family, but I've done nothing other than simple, like, I'm going to go ride my bicycle, or I'm going to go do this. But I haven't done anything in 18 months to say, I'm not going to answer the phone. I'm not going to coach clients. I am going to be 100% intentional about taking time for myself. And at my office, and I'll show it to you next week, I printed that on the office. Movement times momentum times consistency equals manifestation.
You're going to see that in September, Andy.
Am I going to see that in September?
No, I'm saying you probably will see it in September. It takes 3 months and you'll see the results of what you were doing or not doing now.
Yeah, I would agree with you 100%. I would agree with you. And now it's one of those things that I'm like, okay, how do we teach you all to teach me by others? Because it's, I remember my dad, he's of the era of 81 years old. So you can imagine, do as I say, not as I do. And I can't be that way, right? I can't be an asset to you if I don't do the things that we teach and preach and recharge and regain, recenter, without asking you those difficult questions that I've been asked. And oh, by the way, Doug's the one that asked me about them. So
can I ask
does
you
that
a
make
question?
sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
So, and I'm not trying to turn the tables and coach you. I'm trying to learn something here.
Please.
So what I want to understand is, it sounds like, if I heard you right, you went from doing this and that to this or that. Is that what I heard?
Yes and no.
Okay.
So I was doing, actually, you had it backwards. I was doing this or that instead of and. I wasn't looking at it both ways, because there never should be an or, there should always be an and. And
Okay.
that was, to your point, that was the coaching I had to be coached into. It can't be one or the other. It could be both.
Okay, that makes sense.
It can be both of us at different stages. It could be different days. It could be different weeks. It just, we as cognitive adults and thought people, is we have to really, it's like, sometimes, like you just said, I'm an IDDI, right? I'm moving so fast. Well, is that your reality, or is that just what you, because somebody gave you an assessment that, okay, I'm a DI, that's all I can be? And I would argue that you say that as a defense mechanism, but you're really high disc, because you're very analytical. I've worked with you. You're very much able to help this room bring control back to it. So I would argue that, yeah, you may have these moving fast decisions, but when a push comes to shove, you can do all at any given moment in time.
That's what I'm working on. So if you were so family focused, and you were kind of, if I'm hearing you right, less balanced, more flip-flop to using and rather than or.
Yes. And you can tell it in business results when you look at, when you don't do both and you go to one area of it, things fall by the wayside. Not maliciously, but because your focus shifts right into the chaos you're in. And part of, like, Tom, you're reading that book, Can't Hurt Me. You want to talk about a guy that gets laser focused on chaos, throwing that stuff out of the way? That book does it.
Oh, I know. Yeah, I am teaching classes, in real estate and throughout the syllabus, and I'm using this and other things.
Nice. So, I mean, does that, like I said, does that make sense to y'all, how we have to build consistency back into our lives every day?
Yeah. And I think that, just ironically, or not coincidentally, whatever, the whole idea of a 30-day challenge is clear proof of that. Just do one.
And the hardest thing is the discipline that goes with it.
Yeah, now I'm in the habit. The hardest thing now is that, it's just creating the habit. Now I look forward to it.
So how do you create that habit? There's things I'm trying to change in my life as well that are, I don't know if they're just bad habits, but it's personal accountability. So
I'll give you a Goggins answer for that. So David Goggins.
Hey, remember, there's children on this call later in life. I won't give it with his
words. But so David Goggins says the best way to do anything is to develop a callus. And so in your mind, if you go and say, what can I go and do today that sucks? And so when I was, it was only 5 days, but when I was doing this 2.5 miles of walk and run, that's what sucked. But here's what was interesting. When you got done, then it was, wow, that was great. So it sucked in doing it. And then when it was over, so it's a matter of doing something each day that is a chore. And by a chore, I don't mean taking out the garbage. I mean, it's really difficult for you to do. It's something that you're resistant to do. So when you do that repeatedly, time on task, consistently, then you develop a callus and you're not necessarily looking forward to it, but you're going to do it. Like, I'm going to go and do 8 sets of 25 or 4 sets of 50 push-ups. And then once a week, I'm going to do a max to see how far I can go.
I believe you said you have a military background, right, Tom?
Not legitimately, no. I mean, I was an aviation officer candidate school, but I didn't make it through. So,
Oh, well, but
yeah.
even so, I mean, I guess what I mean by that is it sounds like you've had experience in your life with being taught that kind of personal accountability to be consistent with things. Is that right?
I've known of it,
Okay.
but in the last, I mean, since Easter Sunday literally was the beginning of these 30-day challenges that have made such a change.
So but I think the question is, so Tom, how did you start? What was the catalyst to, okay, I rolled out of bed, I'm doing X. I think that's what she's looking for, is what was the thought that went through your head and you just rolled over and said, okay, I'm doing this now. And then the next day you had that same thought plus one.
Yeah. So the whole thing is, I mean, the catalyst is interesting, but ultimately it's a decision. Decide, meaning remove all other options. But it started out with something simple.
So a choice?
My buddy's sister-in-law saying, hey, I'm doing this 30-day challenge. I dare you to do it. And I was like, okay. And it was 50 squats and then 10 more the next day and 10 more the next day for a period, and then rest every 4th day. And when I did 50, I thought, crap, I'm not gonna be able to do 100. But by the end, I actually went over and I ended up doing 300 in a row. And it was difficult, but it was reporting. Anyway, it's a decision. So you've got to decide that that's what you're going to do. And I know it sounds simple and it's frustrating. Just do it.
So can you guys help me figure out what my block is if I get vulnerable and tell you all about it?
Yes, it's a safe place, except for the 300 other people that are going to be watching this later, but go ahead.
No, it's all good. It's really pathetic. It's getting up in the morning. I've coached myself through the idea that it's all these different things, but more time with my kids, more prepared for work. I have a million reasons why I should do it. Good reasons, like the right reason to have a reason. Wanting to get up at like 5 o'clock in the morning. And I'm such a night person and I'm wired for that I've tried so many things. I've even tried like taking Benadryl just to go to bed at like 9 o'clock to try and just at least get myself physically in there. I've tried all these different things. And my mindset in the morning is so stuck. Like I find myself literally just shooting negative every time, which it's funny because when I'm talking about those things, I'm thinking out loud. I've learned a lot about neural pathway science. And so I wonder if that's part of it. When I wake up, the trigger is I'm awake. I don't want to get out of bed. So I go negative and go, I don't like this. So maybe I just need to reroute that to positive.
That's maybe, but can I suggest something?
Please.
You don't like to get up in the morning, is that right?
Correct.
Do you hit snooze?
That answer your question? My pout? Yes. I've tried putting my phone across the room. I've tried sticking it in the other room. Like literally my brain doesn't function in the morning. So I don't even think through all the reasons I want to get up or anything. I'm like in a daze and I will turn it off and get back into bed. And before I know it, I'm like, oh, I'm almost asleep. This is bad. I should get out of bed. Nope.
Well, so my
go ahead,
point
Tom.
in that whole question is, if you don't like getting up, if you don't like waking up in the morning, why would you do it 3 times or 4 times or 5 times? Why are you doing what you hate? Just get up once.
And I would add to that is, so have you don't take Benadryl. That stuff's bad for you. I would take,
it's only if
what's
I'm
that?
struggling. Honest to God, it's rare. I only take it when I'm, because that's the other thing. You talk about self-care. We were talking about that stuff, and that's part of it too, is without going super deep, I'm extreme emotional, mental, physical burnout lately. I mean, I slept till 2 o'clock in the afternoon on a Saturday when my kids were gone.
So, all right. So here's what so if you're that far into the burnout, so were you with us when we talked about the 10 behaviors of burnout?
Yes. And then I saw your recap email as well.
Okay. So here's what I want you to do. First and foremost, if it's that far gone, the first thing is that let's not even worry about waking up in the morning yet. Let's find a time to get you to bed. Okay, so you're looking at this. We have to find the root cause. Getting out of bed is a symptom. It really is. But if you're up to, and I have I have a set of lawyers. They're in the midst of just about ready to have a baby. So their night owl schedules is coming to a halt.
Yeah.
But my first challenge would be is we got to get you to bed at a time that's reasonable. And we have to build that habit into first so that you are rested. That is the key point. Getting out of bed is a symptom of something else. So if you're in burnout and you're mentally and physically exhausted at this time, then let's not even deal with that end of it yet, because that will just cause us more strife. Let's build into what are the things during the day that we have to build in for self-care. So I'm going to talk about this. Have you ever thought about taking a nap in the afternoon?
So I've worked on that. You coached me out of this because I'm going to fall into I'm going to call it the analysis hole, the C hole of like all the,
yeah.
Big picture. I've just hired somebody that is extremely overqualified, which is perfect, and paying them more than I've ever paid anybody else, including myself. So I don't have time to take a nap. I don't have time to not get up early because I have to sell the shit out of everything right now to make this work.
Just a minute. Okay. So Sarah, I'm with you there. So let's just skip over that one. I asked that question because some people that is a recharging moment. So if you don't have that time during the day, then by golly, you do need to go sell the shit out of it. So tell me this, what is a time that you'd rather go to bed?
Well, that I naturally want to go to bed, or that will facilitate a better lifestyle?
Well, let's start with two questions. First question is when do you naturally go to bed?
1 in the morning.
Oh, for Christ's sakes, why would you get up at 5? I mean, if you're going to bed at 5 o'clock, that's half a day. Okay,
well,
so
honestly, I've actually stopped working that late, which has helped. But now I find that I'm finding all these domestic things to do, like I'll get my kids to bed and there's no way I can fall asleep the second they're done. Like I'm not there. So I try to wind down. And so I'm working on even just physically getting my body in bed sooner, which is helping. But then I get sucked into thing on my phone, or I start doing other stuff, and I hit my second wind at like 10:30.
Okay, so you're past that. So first thing is you got to set some rules for the evening. How would this sound? Can you make a commitment for the weekend? Let's just try till next week. You make a commitment. What time will you turn all electronics off, including your phone? So to do not disturb. That's my what time would you commit to that? Computers, iPads, phones, when would you hit do not disturb on it and not go into whatever rabbit hole that's on your phone?
Stupid question. Do not disturb and silent, are they any different? Because I do put it on silent, but I want to make sure my alarm works. That's the only thing.
No, do not disturb. They're way different. Do not disturb will not allow any of the incoming stuff between X amount of times. Alarms always work doing it.
Oh, they do?
Yeah, okay. My do not disturb on my phone is from 7 p.m. through 7 a.m. And my alarm goes off at 5:45. So, but I'm telling you this out of care is the reason I use do not disturb is because then, what was really funny is I didn't have it on when my mom was sick. I turned all that off so that my aunt and my sisters and everybody could call me. And then the other night, like at 11 o'clock, I started getting texts. I'm like, what the hell?
Because you had do not disturb minus a couple of people that could get through in an emergency situation, right?
Exactly. And so I turned it all off because I didn't know who was going to be calling me. So I put my phone on do not disturb. Do not disturb will not allow anything to come in. However, that being said, when is a good time for you to turn your phone, your electronics off so you're not sitting there in the rabbit hole of, well, I could just do this email. Well, I can just do this. Well, this will just take a second, right? And then all of a sudden you're 6 deep in the email chain and everything else. So when is a time that you will commit that you will turn all electronics off, including your phone?
Yeah.
There's a setting on my phone that I've got that at 9:30 it goes to do not disturb and it goes gray, like grayscale. So I know that
So when the only test I want to give you, Sarah, is remember baby steps. 1% changes every day. So I want you to give yourself grace to getting up in the morning. The second thing I want you to do is let's just find a time when your phone goes off. Because if you're not, and I've learned this, if I'm not worried about my phone and I'm not on my phone and I'm not looking at TikTok and Facebook and Instagram and Pinterest and all that bullshit,
Yep.
I go right to sleep. Right. But it took me several weeks or months to get to that. So again, the question is when would you set your do not disturb on your phone so you can go and rest? Whether, and I don't, it can be TV, you can go watch TV, you can go watch movies, you just can't have a phone, a computer, or an iPad in front of you. And I don't want any splitting hairs like, oh, it's a Surface, it's not an iPad. None of that shit.
I don't even have
Electronics.
that. I have a phone and a laptop. That's it.
Okay. So when will you turn your phone to do not disturb?
10 o'clock.
I think that's too late.
So do I, but whatever.
Well, because what I'm looking at is if I'm really going to truly check out and start the wind down process earlier, it does need to be like 7. But that only works if I'm going to make up for it by being up super early in the morning. Now you said that
hang on. You're trying to solve things that have not even happened yet. Come back to the first thing about it is, so I understand that now your mind is going to all the other quandaries that have to be done if you do not disturb. So if you do not disturb to wind down, you stated that I find all these domestic things to do, right? It's like laundry. It's
so much laundry.
You have little kids, of course it is. So and I'm not an expert at this, and my wife listens to this. I'm confident I'm going to get slapped in the back of the head. But part of the challenge for all moms is you have so much responsibility. You are responsible for everything all the time. And I'm not saying dads don't do a lot of it, but we get away with a little bit more. So again, the first task is not to solve all the other stuff in the morning. The first task is to get you to give yourself enough grace to get caught up, whether it's rest, whether it's relaxing, mind, body, soul. That's the first thing I'm working on here. I know this isn't business coaching, but it is psychology 101, and I've been there.
Oh, it plays right into business. Yeah, it's directly connected.
Right. So I want you to start coming down from that. So when do your kids go to bed? 4 o'clock? No, I'm just kidding.
Well, no, that's another thing is I think I'm in a weird place because there's a ton of transition right now. I'm starting to take Mondays and Tuesdays off to be with my kids, which puts more pressure on my business for me to be more efficient during the week. But it's because I don't get enough time with them. And my commitment with that is I'm not working. When they nap, if I want to work then for that hour or two, that's fine. So typically what's good for them, like when they were going to daycare the next day and I was going to work, I'd try really hard to at least start getting them to bed around 8. They'd be in bed around 8:30, 8:45.
Okay.
But like this weekend, I don't care. I miss them. I just want to let them go to bed whenever ish they want to. If we're watching movies, hanging out, as long as they're quiet and settling down, then that might be 10 o'clock. Maybe that makes me a bad mom for a 3 and a 5-year-old, but
here's the deal. At the end of the day, it has to work for you. Again, I'm looking for the weekday stuff to get you into a habit of turning all of these things down and off to give you a chance just to be you. And I, as a mom, I'm not going to tell you how to be a mom. That is way above my pay grade. I'm going to tell you, if you love your kids and you take care of your kids, then that's the best thing to have. But if you're not taking care of you, I'd ask you to be a little selfish. I'd ask you to start finding a time when you're going to turn all of these things off so you can start unwinding. The second question is, and you don't have to answer it today. Send me a text message later today when you're going to turn your phone to do not disturb. The second thing that I want you to do is I want you to give me a time written in stone when you are going to bed. And I'm going to preempt this right now. It can't be any time after 10:30. You can put any time before that. You can't put any time after that.
can I ask a follow-up question?
Of course.
This all makes sense. I'm totally down. it's not, I know, I'm learning. I've kind of tried this before, and time management is a struggle for me. So when I look at like backing into it, what time do I want to go to bed? Well, that means I should make sure the kids are in bed by this point, da 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 da. I never get
Okay.
to bed when I want to. And I
Then
don't know
then
why.
don't, yeah, but
There's a difference though,
don't
isn't
make
there?
that a catalyst of it.
Isn't there a difference though? That's a want to. This is a commitment. This is a have to.
Hmm.
Yeah, and so, but to that point, it's you're I'm not going to say you're splitting hairs, but so your kids go to bed at 10 and you go to bed at 10. So something doesn't get done. Shit, I mean, in your lifetime, does everything always get done?
No, but when I wake up in the morning and see a pile of shit in the kitchen, I want to kill somebody. I can't do it.
Well,
Well, then
okay,
get up
Grace.
when the alarm goes off and do the dishes.
Yeah, Grace, Grace, Grace. And the other thing that I don't want you to do right now is I don't want you to set an alarm to get up earlier than you want to. If it's 7, if your kids are, you get up at 6:30, I don't want you to get up any earlier than that. I just want you to go to bed and get up. And the reason I say this is there's psychology behind is when you start getting enough rest and your body is rested, you will wake up. You will wake up and get stuff done. You won't wake up more tired. You will wake up and it's done. Have the windows open, have the sun coming in, have natural light coming in so that it starts your body on that, like, oh, I do want to get up. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
All right. All right. So Sarah, I want to see that text message from you whenever
writing
you
that
by
down.
5 o'clock today, when you're gonna turn your do not disturb on, when you're gonna go to bed. Those are the most important things. And above all else right now, with where you're at mentally and physically, exhaustion and all that, give yourself the grace in the morning. Give yourself the grace for the next 3 weeks that things aren't going to be perfect.
What's
And
the
I'm
difference
married to
between grace and an excuse?
grace is forgiveness. Grace is things are going to be a little bit chaotic right now. Grace is there's going to be a pile of shit on my counter and I'm going to get to it when I get to it. Grace is not kicking yourself because shit doesn't get done every day. Excuses are, well, I'm going to get up early and I hit the snooze button 13 times and then I wake up and I'm mad. Well, you're mad at yourself. Okay.
And
That's the difference.
so behind you, to use your words against you, Sarah, ownership, acceptance, responsibility versus blame or accountability, sorry, versus blame, excuse, and deny. Some of those things, right? And some you don't, but you're going to just start with a time and commit to that. And then we can talk about it again. And because it's just a matter of doing it. And it's not easy until you get used to it.
Love, Tom. I love it. So, responsibility is in the past. It's over. It's done with it. There's nothing you can do about it. Stop being mad about it.
Mhm.
What I'm asking you, like he said, ownership is today. Ownership is the setting a do not disturb, going to bed at a regular time. Ownership is I'm not getting up till 7 tomorrow. Wait, in fact, I'm not getting up till my kids come in and bother me.
That's what I was going to do because it's the weekend. I bust my ass
Perfect.
today so I can earn that.
Perfect. Then that's what I always do. Like literally, I mean, I have 2 yellow labs that don't care if I'm sleeping or not, but one black, one yellow. And at 6:30 every day, they are like they've never eaten before. So give yourself grace. All right. I'm getting tagged here. Anything else we should talk about, or I have to jump into my other meeting?
I think we're great. This was helpful. Thank you, guys.
Excellent. So what time, Sarah, will I get in text from you?
In the next 15 minutes.
Excellent.
Okay.
Tom, I look forward to, go ahead.
When you get the text, just tell me you got it.
All right, I will. That's the ownership. I will. All right, you guys have a great day. Thank you so much for playing along, and please invite your friends, relatives, and colleagues to this call. We're going to have more and more fun as the summer goes on.